So in this lesson, we're going to look at how to set up a Facebook group. And so we're going to walk step by step through the entire process just to help you gain a better understanding of what the options look like, where you can find them, and just kind of explain how the settings can affect how your group actually functions. And so a few things that I'll mention up front. One is that if you're familiar with Facebook, you know that they love to constantly change the user interface. And so what you see on screen may look a little bit different than what you actually are seeing on your end. But hopefully it will be similar enough where you can kind of at least follow along. Now, right now, we're actually in the midst of another Facebook interface change, especially for pages. And so with the pages I manage, one page is on the new layout, while the rest of the pages I manage are still on the old layout. And so I'll actually show you both, and hopefully you'll see how they look and gain a better understanding of how the Facebook groups can be set up. So with that being said, let's jump right in and let's talk about setting up a Facebook group. I'm going to start with just my Online Ministry Made Simple page. And a few things that I'll point out here. This is the older style layout that most pages are still going by. And you'll see on the left side, you have a number of your settings, and you'll see that that when you are in this view, you'll have publishing tools and page info in your settings. Across the top, you'll have home and reviews, and these tabs are different. And then you'll actually, if you scroll down, you'll have one that says groups. So we'll go to this groups page, or the groups tab, I should say, and then you'll see groups by this page. And so you can see here, it'll say link group. And this is if you already have a group that is not currently linked to your page, you can click this and you can actually link that group to your page, or you can create a new linked group. And so that's what we'll be doing here in a minute. You can see I already have a linked group that that I use for doing some courses and some free workshops. And so that is how that typically looks for most pages. I'll show you another way now before we jump in. And if you just go to Facebook, and this, I'm just pulling up my profile page, my personal profile page. And on the left, you'll see some things here. And if you hit groups, it's a little slower, I think, because it's recording, but here we go. Okay, and now it'll show the groups I manage. The Connect at Cornerstone is the group for our church, the church that I pastor. You can see here, Online Ministry Made Simple Community, the Cornerstone Elder Group. I have many more. We have a camera test group. We have all sorts of Cornerstone Kids for our church, Cornerstone Student Ministries. I have all sorts of different groups here, but you can click create a new group right here. And this will start taking you in the process. So that's one way to do it. Let's go back and let's create a link group from our page. Because I think this is how most churches, if you are creating a ministry page, or if you're creating let me back up. If you're creating a ministry group, a Facebook group for a ministry in your church, you can link it to your page. If you're creating a Facebook group for your entire church, you can link it to your page. The neat thing is you can have more than one page linked to your church. More than one group. You have to watch yourself. The terminology gets confusing here. And I keep saying the wrong thing, so I apologize for that. You can have more than one group linked to your page. There we go. So you can have multiple groups linked to this same page. And so to do that, we'll just create a linked group, and we're going to walk through this. And so let's call this group name here. We'll call this the Facebook Groups Made Simple Community. And my keyboard is double typing everything. For privacy, now this is, we've talked about this a little, but for most groups, I recommend private. The reason why is you will see more interaction in a private group than a public group. And the reason why is posts cannot be shared outside of the group. So only the members can see who's in the group and what they post. For most churches, the reason this is effective is if you're sharing prayer requests or information about your church, this is a little bit more of an intimate setting. And so there's some trust that you need to have to be able to share things like this. And so I recommend a private group. You can do public, but remember, if you do a public group, anybody on Facebook can actually see the post that you do. And so then you have two more options. Do you want it to be visible, that anyone can find the group, even if it's private and it's visible, then people can find the group. They just can't see the post inside of the group until they actually join. Hidden means only members can find this group. And since I'm doing this as a demo, I want this to be hidden. And so then you can invite page fans, and you can go through and invite people here, and just start off right from the beginning by inviting people. For right now, I'm not going to do that. So we're going to create this group. And so now the group has been created. And so with this, one of the first things you can do is you can add you can upload a photo. So let's upload a photo and make a new cover photo for our group. For cover photos, I typically use Canva. And so I use Canva to create those. And so we've got that created now. And that looks good. The size on those, you'll see different sizes. The sizes for cover photos for groups is different than pages. But again, that's something that's constantly changing. And so here we see continue setting up our group. Invite members, add a cover photo, add a description. Let's add a description. This group is to create, I'll just go ahead and create community for people using Facebook groups. We want this to be a place where you can ask questions and find answers. And so again, you can see I'm using Grammarly to fix my spelling mistakes because my keyboard keeps sticking. So we'll just have a description now. I'm not going to create a post yet, but now we have our group created. And so a couple of things I point out about the user interface. You can see here on this upper right, it says I'm interacting as online ministry made simple. Since it is a linked group and it's linked back to the page, now if I post something, I'm interacting as the page itself. And so that's important to remember. So now I can interact as the page or as an individual. I can drop this down and now I can choose to interact as myself. This is a good thing to remember because on your church's group, there will be times that you will want to interact as an individual, and there'll be times you'll want to interact as the church, as the official church, depending on what type of announcement And so as a pastor, often I'll interact as an individual, as my profile, just so people know it's me talking. But sometimes if it doesn't really matter if it comes from me and it's just something that we're sharing as a church, I will post as the church. The other thing you will notice is I don't have access to all of the settings now as an individual, because I haven't made myself an administrator for the group yet. So right now, only the page is the administrator. Again, something to remember for this. This means that if anybody is an administrator for your page, they are also an administrator for your group. And so that's something to remember. Let's kind of walk through the settings on the left-hand side here. And so first we'll look at member requests. We have no pending members, but when you do have people who have requested to join, you can actually sort them by a lot of different information here. And so this is a quick way to see all the people who have requested membership in your group. You can set up automatic member approvals. And so let's look at the criteria we have for that. If you have questions, you can require that they have answered the questions. You can require a geographic border. So current city on their public profile is within 25 miles. Or you can actually, so this is the city I'm living in, tiny. And so we can choose that. We could make an automatic member approval with someone already in your group, and you can require that they've been on Facebook for a period of time, so you don't get someone that has just joined. With that being said, I typically don't use automatic member approvals for churches. You can, and for a bigger church, it may be a good option to do. For smaller churches, you can probably manage it on your own. For smaller or mid-sized churches, but once you get into thousands of people joining, you may want to turn on automatic member approvals. Let's look at the membership questions. This is the place where we can ask questions. And so you can say, do you currently attend our church? And I usually put, for our church, it would be, I would actually put our church name and our city name, just because they're churches with our same name. And so you could do check boxes, and you could do, yes, you could do no, you could do a multiple choice, type question. You can just do a written answer. What do you hope to learn? We could ask, what is your email address? So questions like this, we could ask, have you made a profession of faith, or are you saved, or have you confessed Jesus as your Lord and Savior? You could even put a question like that here, and if not, would you like to find out more information about that? So these are the questions that people have to answer before they can join your page. And so that's where you add your membership questions, and you can add up to 3 questions. Pending post, you can actually schedule post. And I did this a lot in the workshop that I hosted on my group. I would schedule the post the day before, and then you could see them here. You can set up post topics. And so post topics would be, for a church, you could maybe have prayer requests or upcoming events, or you could have multiple different post topics that you could use, and this is where you would add those. Let's keep going here and look at some more. Scheduled post. So here's actually where you scheduled post. Pending posts would be the ones that haven't been approved yet, that need to be reviewed, and we'll hit the options for that here in a minute. These are the scheduled posts. And so you can actually create a post, and when you actually create a post here, test post, there's a place in the bottom right to schedule it, so you can actually post and choose a date and a time in the future. So that's where your scheduled posts are. Activity log is just everything that's happened on your group so far. And I need to turn off my notifications, so hold on just a minute. I will hit do not disturb. Okay. And so you can even add notes to the other admins on why you did something. So if you delete a post, or you can go and actually add a note saying this, and these are not visible to anybody except the admins. So this is the first draft. So we could add a note to that. And you can see how that shows up. So that's your activity log, and you can sort that by date, by members. This will show every post on the group. This will show all the edits, all the changes, everything there. Group rules. We'll just keep going. Use rules. Write up to 10 rules about your group. And so it has some example. Be kind and courteous. No hate speech or bullying, no promotions or spam, respect everyone's privacy. I'll usually add one to tell people to not share prayer requests outside of the group. I'll add one, it says no promotions or spam, but I will say something about no selling of items, or, multi-level marketing, things like that. That's just this. A church group is really not the place to for everybody to be selling what they're working on. And even though many of those things are good, you'll run into problems if you allow some things and don't allow others. So these are the type of rules that you set up in advance to really control and help facilitate good discussion on your group. If you don't have good rules, it will create problems later on. And I'll share a little bit more about this in some of the later sessions. But having good rules for your group is really important. And so this even says what's shared in the group should stay in the group. And that's something we really emphasize. So just like a small group where you don't want someone sharing private information outside of the group, the same thing is true here. We even add in one about prayer requests, that if you don't have permission to share it, please don't. We do have a prayer request form on our website that goes directly to our church leadership. That's where we typically push most prayer requests to that instead of the group. Again, just to avoid gossip, just to make sure everyone's got permission to share before they do. So you can create up to 10 rules, and you can ask that people approve or agree to those rules before they join the group. Member reported content. Obviously, this is if someone reports content that goes against the group rules. You can review it here. Moderation alerts. You can actually have keywords. A keyword alert will appear here every time a member uses a keyword. And so if there's a specific issue in your church that's kind of a hot button issue, and you want to be alerted whenever someone mentions it, you could set that up here. And you can create an engagement. And so what kind of content do you want alerts about? Post, engagement type, comments, reactions, love. You could create if anyone does an angry emoji, that it alerts you. And so if someone's upset about something, that way you know about it in advance. So these alerts are really powerful and it asks how many of them in 1 hour period should prompt an alert. So you could just even say comments. And if something's getting a lot of comments and you want to jump in and see why, then say, hey, if this thing gets more than 5 comments, if any post does, then I want to see it. And so that is what an engagement alert is. So these keywords and engagement will allow you to stay on top of what's happening in the group. Group quality. This is if something in your group goes against Facebook policies and they take it down. Facebook takes it down, it will let you know. So this is where the hate speech and bullying and anything else of a sexual nature, anything like that will show up here if to know that Facebook has taken it down. So we've made it through most, but let's look at the settings. And so again, this is kind of just a summary of everything we've already talked about. We can put a location in, a city, and that helps too to know where it's at. Name and description, privacy. So again, you can see these are the things we've already done. Now we get into some interesting things here. Customize group. What is your web address? This is really nice. You can actually go in and type, this is my special group name, whatever it is. And it says that's actually available. It'll give you a little green checkbox. This is just so it's easier to find. And so instead of this number, which is 494-769, instead of that number, you can actually give it a name that's associated with the title of the group. So you can go in and customize the group web address. You can also give it a group color. And I think this really helps groups stand out a little bit. And so for this one, I like this blue. Let's save this blue. And we'll go back and look at it here in a minute. And you'll see badges. You can set up different badges. So when someone comments in the group, it shows whether they're an admin, whether they're a moderator, a new member, a rising star, a visual storyteller, or a conversation starter. And so these kind of just, it's a little bit of a gamification of Facebook groups, but you can see how a little bit about the members who are commenting. And so you can turn these off or on. If you don't want those, you can leave them on. But this kind of shows who the people are in the group. So that's the badges. The group affiliation, you can add a group affiliation to show that a specific person or organization is an admin of the page. The admin's name will appear at the bottom of the group's cover photo. So like this, if I wanted everybody to know this is an official group of Online Ministry Made Simple, then I would click this and do that. So that's the group affiliation. Now let's look at extra features here. There's a few things here that are really nice. So group type, this is general, buy and sell, gaming, social learning, jobs, or parenting. I like, for churches, you would either do general or social learning. And for a social learning group, this allows you to organize your post into units or series of units, or they call them now the guides. So this turns on the guides in your group where you can have content that people can see and you can organize it almost like classes inside your group. So let's do that. Let's make this a social learning group. Now, it says show progress. You do get a choice. Do you want people to show progress by marking their post as done? So you could have a course set up inside of your group for new people. Say this is your you're getting started in the group, and here's what we want you to do. You could have a welcome video from the pastor. You could go over the rules. You could say this is what we want this group to accomplish, and you could actually set that up as a guide, and people could mark that as being done. A Q&A, you can set whether to host that, whether anyone can host a Q&A or just the admins and moderators. So that we'll talk about this in the advanced lesson of this course. Who can join the group? Only profiles or profiles and pages? Now this gets confusing, but let me explain it. I mentioned before, you have profiles, which are individuals. You have pages, which are organizations. And then you have pages can be organizations, they can be a brand, they can be an individual, but kind of the public persona of the individual. Then you can have a group, and groups can contain profiles or profiles and pages. So a page can join a group, or just a profile can join the group. So this allows you to choose it. Again, for a church, you definitely want profiles, which is the default. You may want to open it up to pages if you have local businesses that would be participating in the conversation. That's the only time I think that you would see that if you have other churches that are commenting or other ministries, maybe a local soup kitchen or another ministry that's a page, and you want them to interact and be part of your group, then you can open it up to profiles and pages. But that is where you can set that. Who can approve member requests? This is anyone in the group or only admins and moderators. I would suggest only admins and moderators. This is, again, unless your group is super huge and you want it wide open, this way allows you some control of seeing who's coming and going into the group. And so we'll make this only admins and moderators. Who is pre-approved to join? This is a great feature. So if you want people to be pre-approved where they don't have to wait to be approved, and so if someone requests membership in your group, they would show up under this tab member request in the upper left. But here you can say if people are already in your other groups, they can be pre-approved. Or you can upload a file of email addresses to pre-approved people on Facebook. You could export a list of your church members from your church management software, upload that file, and then they would be pre-approved when they request membership. Facebook would actually go ahead and approve those without you having to go in and approve them manually. So this would be a neat way to speed up the process when you first start and to lower the load on your moderators and your admins for your group. So that is what the pre-approval is. Who can post? Do you want anyone in the group to post or just admins? Again, I would strongly suggest you let anyone in the group post. That's really the power of Facebook groups, is the community. How do you approve? Do you have to approve the post? So you can make it where if someone posts, then they have to, every post has to be approved before it shows up, or members can post directly to the group. Again, I don't have a problem with our church with people posting directly to the group. We're taking the chance if something inappropriate does get posted, or if someone's Facebook account gets hacked and someone starts posting inappropriate content, we'll just have to take it down when that happens. If you have a big team and you want a pre-approved post, then you can do it quickly, then you can turn this on. But I would suggest if you turn this on, then you really try to approve posts quickly, where otherwise people will post and not see it show up and just give up and not continue posting. Approve edits. This is where if a person edits their post, you have to approve it. Again, I usually leave this off. For larger groups, this may be an issue, but for most church groups, it's not. Here's where you link the page. You could actually link it to other pages. And recommended groups, you could have other groups that you could recommend. So, hey, we could recommend this group. So now we have a recommended group. And then apps. Now, why would you need an app associated with your group? Let me give you a few use cases that I've seen. For one, we use Resy to live stream our church services. For Resy to be able to live stream into a Facebook group, you have to add it as a group or as an app to the group. So once you add this, then the Resy service can post into your group. There's another program that I've used before, Switcher Studio. It's the same way. For Switcher Studio to live stream into a group, you have to add the app into the group. And so there are other apps here inside, messaging apps and different. So you can see there's different apps here to have authorization to interact with your group. You actually have to add them. So that is what the apps do. So we've made it through all of the settings. The insights we'll cover in a later lesson. But what you've seen now is just a basic, here's how you set up the group. Here's how you go option by option. We'll go back to the home of the group. And let's see here. You can see, let's look again when I interact as myself. Now we have that. Or we can go back and interact as the page. So, couple of things that I'll mention here. Go back to settings. I think I've covered everything I want to on this. So we'll go over a few more things about this. We've got these social learning groups now. We can start a discussion. We can have members here. And so if we want to add new admins and moderators, we can't, right. This is until we add some people to the group, you'll see some more settings come up. So this is, again, Facebook Groups Made Simple, how this works. Let me now show you one more thing. It looks a little different for some of the newer pages. For the newer pages, I will actually drop this down. You'll see there's a page I manage called Shadowgrass, which is actually a bluegrass band, and it's a larger page. Now this is how it will look in the future. If you want to manage your page, you actually will switch to it, and now I'm interacting as that page. And the reason I want to show you this is, I'll pull this up open. Now to add a group, they've changed the settings here, and it's not as easy to create a link group from the page. And so when I go to groups here, this looks like a current bug in Facebook. No groups to show, and there's no way to create a linked group from here. I've looked throughout this page, do not see any way to do that. And so now with the new layout, the only way to create a link group is to create the group and then link the group back to the page. So you'll see that probably change and be fixed. The good thing is you can switch to classic pages, so I can switch back to the old layout. But right now, there's not a way to create a group from the page. So I just wanted to throw that out there. If your page is on this new layout, then you won't be able to create a group from here. You'll have to actually go back and let me interact as myself and switch profiles back to my personal. And you'll actually have to create the group from here. So from the groups, create a group. Okay, so there we go. And now we create a new group from here. So that's how you would create the new group. And then you can link it once you create it under your group settings. So hopefully this has been helpful. We'll talk about a few more things, but with all of this, there's a lot of information to cover. And so hopefully you're gaining confidence in getting everything set up. And so I'm excited about this. Hope you guys are too. We'll continue. There's some more advanced features when we talk about moderation and facilitating. We'll talk all about setting up new admins and moderators. We'll talk about advanced features about messenger rooms, the Q&As, Facebook Live inside of groups. So lots of information we've covered, but again, I hope this has been helpful, and thanks for going through this lesson. Next week, we'll go into the secrets and kind of a step-by-step guide to launching your group and getting the word out and how to promote it. And so that's what's on tap for the next lesson. So thanks again.